I don't know a ton about church history, but I do know that I'm trying to remember. I think there's a small town called Millay that was part of my first area. My first area was humongous. We drove at least 50 miles a day. We covered two different wards that were really spread out boundary wise. Um, but yeah, I think in terms of church history, though, I think there's just a LDS member that had come up and sort of settled this town, but I don't know a whole lot behind that. His name was Moroni or Helaman, I can't quite remember. So I mean, and I remember we went and found his grave somewhere, and that was interesting, I guess. But in terms of boundary, when I served there, we covered. I'm trying to remember how far east we went. We went to the Tri-Cities, and I think there was. It went a little bit further east from there, um, and then we went up to Ellensburg, and then further south. I hope I'm not quoting this wrong. It was down to Pendleton, and then so there's kind of a large chunk that went down into Oregon, and then it cut off after the Oregon side cut off at Cascade Locks, which is a small little town just along the Columbia River, and that was actually in my first area. And then we continued on the Washington side, I think to Longview, and I hope, once again, I hope I'm not getting this wrong. There'll be some missionary out there that says, no, you got it wrong. But yeah, it was kind of out to Vancouver. Longview area was where the boundaries are. Since then, though, they've split essentially that whole area in half. So there's the Vancouver, Washington mission, and then the Kennewick mission. And I know the Vancouver, Washington area takes in some parts of, I think, North Portland, but not a ton of there. And then the Kennewick side, I think they took in part of the Spokane mission. And then recently they announced that they'll be I think it starts with the Dalles Stake, which is kind of, which contains like the Mount Hood area and Mount Adams, and I think it goes up to Yakima, will be a new boundary. So it's kind of, they've almost split it completely in thirds, and I can't remember what they'll call the new mission that they're forming out of there. In terms of temples, in Tri-Cities, there's the Columbia River Temple, so there's a temple in the Kennewick Mission. There isn't one within the boundaries of the Vancouver Mission, and there won't be one, at least currently, in the new mission that they're forming. But our mission president, I would assume the mission president that's currently there, let us go down to Portland, the Portland Temple, which was nice. If so, kind of depending on which side of the mission you were on, was whichever one you'd go to on your assigned temple day. And I think we went about every other transfer, so every 6 weeks or so. Well, not 6 weeks, I guess every 12 weeks or something like that. So in Tri-Cities on the east side, it's really well known and well established. I know the high school in Richland, they've got a seminary building there, which I think says a lot about that area. I mean, compared here to Utah, it's not much, but for areas outside kind of the Utah Mormon population, yeah, I think it was about 10% is what I heard people saying in the Tri-Cities area. So there's a lot of members there. In terms of the west side, though, not nearly so much. I don't know what our monthly or weekly attendance was in the wards that I served in over there, and I'm sure once you get closer to Vancouver, it was a little more consistent. The area I served in, it was kind of, you get a lot of people that live kind of in the backwoods. There's long distances that you have to go, so it was perhaps a little bit harder to get people to come to church. People know about the church. There's some that are antagonistic. I mean, not necessarily in a dangerous way, but yeah, there's other than that, I mean, they're known, but they're not, perhaps not completely understood. I guess there's always varying degrees within that. But yeah, there's just, to my last I heard, there's one ward based in Stevenson, Washington, and that covers, I don't know, I think it covers Cascade Locks, that side of the river, and then up to, not sure how far north it covered, but I know it went out to Skamania, and then to, which was kind of the furthest west part of my first area, and then on the east side, I'm trying to remember, I can't quite remember where the cutoff was there, but then, and then White Salmon was about similar size. So, yeah, good words though, good people though. See, I remember there's this big wood sculpture of Bigfoot as you're driving out towards closer to Skamania. We didn't go out to Skamania all that often just because it was out there and we were kind of limited on our mileage that we could use. I can't remember what the number was, but